What would you do if you discovered the two people you trusted most in the world were robbing you of your future? One whispered lie at a time. The night everything broke was a Tuesday. Remember the sterile glow of my phone screen at 2 a.m., an accidental email preview that felt like a punch to the gut. It was from Marcus, our accountant, to Amelia, my wife. The subject line was retirement adjustment, but the single line of the preview, the one that burned itself into my memory, wasn't about finances. It read, "Can't wait to see you again, same place. Your husband will never know." The screen went dark, but the words were still there, hanging in the suffocating silence of our bedroom. My wife, the woman I'd built a life with, was a stranger, sleeping peacefully beside me, and our future was a lie being rewritten in a cheap hotel room. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The first few days were a masterclass in self-deception. Told myself it was a misunderstanding, a poorly worded professional email. But the evidence, once you start looking for it, is a flood. Amelia's phone, once left casually on the kitchen counter, was now permanently attached to her hand, angled away from me with a practiced defensiveness. There were the late nights at the office that started piling up, her explanations vague and dismissive. "Just wrapping up the quarterly reports, honey," she'd say, the words sounding hollow even to my own hopeful ears. She became a ghost in our home, her laughter, once the soundtrack of my life, replaced by a cold, brittle efficiency. The little affections, the hand squeeze in the car, the shared smile over coffee, they all vanished. It was like living with a polite but distant roommate. The real crack in my denial came from a crumpled receipt I found in the pocket of her winter coat. A charge from the Cypress Inn, a discreet, upscale motel on the outskirts of Dallas, dated for a Wednesday afternoon she'd supposedly spent at a dental appointment. The charge was for a room, plus 2 glasses of champagne from the minibar. I felt the air leave my lungs. The betrayal was no longer a phantom. It had a name, a location, a price. That night, I watched her across the dinner table at a crowded restaurant on McKinney Avenue. She was radiant, animated, telling a story about her day that I now knew was a complete fabrication. She looked at me, her eyes sparkling, and said, "I love you." The words, once my anchor, now felt like a curse. The world tilted, the clatter of silverware and the hum of conversation fading into a dull roar in my ears. I was a spectator in my own life, watching a performance designed to keep me placated and ignorant. The emotional breakdown wasn't a dramatic movie-style explosion. It was a quiet implosion in the dead of night. I found myself sitting on the cold tile of the guest bathroom floor, the door locked, just so I could breathe without her hearing me. The humiliation was a physical weight, pressing down on my chest. Every memory was now tainted, every shared laugh a potential lie. Was she thinking of him during our anniversary trip to Miami? Was his name on her lips when she whispered she loved me? The rage came later, a slow-burning fire that replaced the grief. It started as a spark of defiance. I would not be the weeping, broken husband. I would not be a footnote in their sordid little story. I would be the author of their ending. That's when the shift happened. The broken man was replaced by a strategist. My first move was hiring a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who'd seen it all. While he gathered the tangible proof, the photos of them entering the Cypress Inn, their hands intertwined, the recordings of their hushed conspiratorial phone calls, I began my own investigation into Marcus. He wasn't just our accountant. He was a man we'd trusted with every dollar we'd ever saved. I started digging into our retirement accounts, the ones Marcus managed with such smug confidence. Late at night, fueled by black coffee and a cold fury, I cross-referenced every transaction, every statement, and there it was. A complex web of shell corporations and falsified invoices. Small amounts at first, a few thousand here and there, disguised as management fees or market adjustments. But over the last year, the amounts had grown bolder. He wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was systematically draining our life savings, embezzling our future to fund their affair. He felt untouchable, wrapped in their arrogance and my perceived ignorance. They had no idea they were standing on a trapdoor, and my hand was on the lever. The plan was a two-front war, social annihilation and legal destruction. The PI's final report was a masterpiece of damning evidence. High-resolution photos, audio files, even a detailed timeline of their trysts. For the public exposure, I chose Amelia's annual charity gala, her crowning social event of the year. She was the chairwoman, the star of the show. She stood at the podium in a glittering gown, addressing a ballroom of Dallas's elite, talking about integrity and community. As she spoke, a massive screen behind her meant to display a slideshow of the charity's work flickered, and then it began. The first image was of her and Marcus, kissing in the dimly lit parking garage of his office building. Collective gasp rippled through the room. Then another photo of them walking into the Cypress Inn. Then a snippet of an audio recording, Amelia's voice clear as a bell, laughing as she said, "He's so clueless. We'll never figure it out." The room fell into a stunned, horrified silence. I watched from the back, unseen. Amelia froze, her face a mask of pure terror, her perfect world crumbling around her in real time. She stumbled away from the podium, her social status incinerated in a matter of seconds. Simultaneously, the legal trap sprang shut. While she was being publicly humiliated, federal agents were raiding Marcus's office. Armed with the meticulously organized evidence of embezzlement I had provided, his smug confidence evaporated under the harsh reality of handcuffs and a federal indictment. The final piece was the divorce court. I sat opposite Amelia, who looked like a hollowed-out version of the woman I once loved. She was a pariah, her friends gone, her name synonymous with scandal. When my lawyer presented the evidence of her affair and her complicity in the fraud texts where they discussed the money, plans for a future funded by my stolen retirement, her case collapsed. The judge awarded me everything, the house, the assets, and a judgment against her for her part in the financial devastation. She was left with nothing but the consequences of her choices. I never saw her again after that final day in court. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that moment, the sterile courtroom, her vacant eyes. There was no satisfaction, no triumphant cheer, just a profound, chilling emptiness. The war was over and I had won, but my life was a quiet, haunted battlefield. The end.